How's everyone doing today? My name is Omar Hamouda. I'm your co-host for Beyond the Science podcast.
Yeah, I'm also hosting this podcast. My name's Kira Lee. That was an interesting intro.
I know. I was trying something new. And
How are you guys doing today?
yeah. I mean, I want to see everyone's comments about like how that intro was. So maybe like leave something down below or let me know. Email me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm reachable on email, texting. Not texting. No, don't text me.
The Facebook page.
The Facebook
That's
page.
always up.
Yeah, that's always up. And Instagram, DM us.
But for real, guys, welcome back. Thank you for watching this episode and clicking on our page yet again.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys so much for what you guys are here for. I'm here for you too.
Exactly. Made by creators for creators.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
So our topic for today is actually a pretty interesting one because it's about work-life balance as an entrepreneur. What do you think about that?
We're diving right into it.
Well, we always do.
We always do. This is a really difficult topic. I think it's a really deep topic because there's just so much involved and there's so many different ways that you could look at how to create a work-life balance. I haven't mastered it myself. I struggle with it all the time.
And I think that's also important for everyone to know. It's not like there is one answer, but it's one of those.
Exactly.
It's one of those things where you have to keep iterating, updating, and always revising the way you actually do things.
Yes.
But there are tips and tricks to get around it so you're able to actually be able to be at the most optimal. I'm not going to say 100% because no one's ever at 100%. I don't believe in 100%, if that makes sense, and I'll explain why. Because when you work at 100%, right, you're literally like shutting everything out of your life, and I don't think that's the right way to do it. Dedication to what you do and what you love is definitely certainty of it, right? But there also has to be a balance behind it. And I think a 50-50 balance between your life and your work. And that's also another thing that a lot of people, I think, don't get right, or they think they get right, but they don't. Because when I say work-life balance, I don't mean like a social and work life. I actually mean how do you function in a job that you like to do? Right. But also have the importance of a balanced nutrients, like dieting, involving yourself in the gym, being active, and also like
making time for your mental health and your mind, and
exactly.
like having time to wind down, having time to disconnect from technology, from these things. As an entrepreneur, our faces are in the screens all the time, every day.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so it's really hard to.
It's actually funny because last week when I was in Dallas, I could not, like, for the life of me, be able to like look at a screen because my head was just pounding.
Gets
it was
to
just
that point,
hurting because I was looking at screens so many times, right?
Yeah.
But then it kind of like made me step back a bit and say, hey, let me get back into like the correct diet, the correct balanced nutrients, the correct like activities I should be doing on a day-to-day basis, trying to like keep my whole body in one, because you truly, like, I believe personally that our bodies, like, if you treat it as a rental rather than something that you own, you end up taking care of it a little bit more better than your own self, because you'll always say, oh, I can take care of it later. It's like, no, let me take care of it now. It's not mine. I'm gonna give it up at the end of my life. You know, like,
that's a really like unique way of looking at it.
Yeah, because like have you ever rented like a car, or even like, for example, like stayed at an Airbnb?
Yeah, or even drive a friend's car, or drive your parents' car or something where you're like really scared to mess it up. Yeah,
the way you're cautious about it tells you, like, it helps you like figure, it's like, oh shoot, I'm not gonna have this for long. I gotta return it to its owner, let me like make sure that it's in well maintenance. And that's where I see my like taking care of myself and taking care of my first my mental health, second my activity levels and stuff like that, and also keeping like a well balanced diet so like I don't end up needing to go to get some surgery done or like hospital bills up the roof, right?
I feel like it also definitely depends on how much travel you're doing, and it's different for somebody who has a life full of travel versus somebody who has a life that is a little more stationary, somebody who has a home base. You, I feel like, are so half and half. It's like for a couple months you'll be stationary in one place, and then for months at a time you'll just be traveling nonstop and like won't be home for so long. And I think it's so hard, and I applaud you for like being able to like figure it out. And like we said, we've never like got it down pat. We're always improving and working on it and figuring out what works best for us. But and this is just what has helped us get to where we are now. Obviously, like we said, it's different for everybody, but something that comes to my mind when we think of specifically doing this, targeting entrepreneurs and how they create work-life balance. I'm about to quote Emma Chamberlain here. Yes.
I know you've talked to her about like a couple times on this channel.
Probably because she has a lot of good shit to say on her podcast. And one of the things that she had to say, I believe, about work-life balance was that, and I don't know if she's the person who said this first, but I heard it from her, that when you transition from a 9 to 5 to being your own boss, you essentially transition from a 9 to 5 to a 24/7. And so that means you never really feel like you're not on the job. And it's very difficult for somebody who is their own boss to shut off the computer at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. It ends up being more like 10, 11, 12, where you're like sometimes where you're shutting off the computer and you're like, where did my day go? I spent 8 hours or more with my head staring into a screen. And now that I've shut my computer off, I still can't stop thinking about my business and different ways to elevate and evolve my business. So it never stops, and it's essentially a 24/7 job.
Right.
And that's why I think it's so important that we have these conversations on how to better balance those two.
No, absolutely. I think one way, or like a friend of mine actually brought this up to me, like when I was talking about this topic to them, is that you never really want to set like schedule yourself a goal. You have a goal in mind, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying don't have goals. Kids have goals in life, but have it in a way where it's like, if you don't get it to be done at this certain point, it's not going to break you. And I think that's where the balance comes in, is that have an arbitrary like schedule. Mm-hmm. State in like when it's going to be done at a certain time, right? But not necessarily that it has to be at that time. Right. I feel like maybe more or less like if I finish this, that means I can get to go to this, mm-hmm. right? But not like, oh, by Monday I need to finish this. Or by even Tuesday I need to do that.
Or even like by this age I have to accomplish this. And then you get to that age and you pass that age and you haven't accomplished that thing, and then you feel like a failure. That's not the best way and the healthiest way to go about it. And I know from experience because I've done it to myself. And I'm still really young, and I still feel like, and I think that has so much to do with obviously social media and comparing yourself to people who are your age or younger that are just doing like the craziest things and have just been blowing up and doing so well in their careers and excelling at a insane rate that isn't always realistic. And I think it helps to, when you think about work-life balance and when you're trying to prioritize that in your life, to stay off of the social media for that, and tunnel vision into how to best create and solidify that type of schedule and work-life balance for you before you start kind of expose yourself to the millions of TikTok accounts of people just like showing off their elaborate, expensive lifestyle, or they're just like successful gigs that they're doing, or just them getting a new camera or like new equipment or like things that might hold you back from becoming your best self because you start comparing yourself to those people.
And I think the first thing that a lot of people need to do to actually truly be in that work-life balance, and I've said it like earlier on this podcast, I'm going to say it again because it's very important, is basically like a good routine where you are focused on what you put in your body and how you maintain it. Because really at the end of the day, if your physical being or mental being can't like be able to keep up with the work, then what's the point of the work? So by doing
the work isn't going to be nearly as good if your mind is not clear enough to put your all into it.
And I think that's the first tip I would give anyone is first fix those in your life.
Get your mind and your body right. And it sounds so cliche, but it is the closest thing to it's the truth.
Right. And what I would say too is centralize your life balance, your work balance around that, and you'll realize that you're going to put that priority over that. Like, for example, if you're supposed to take a lunch, go take a lunch, right? Even if you're on a job and like you haven't eaten.
Yeah.
There are times where like I've been on jobs and I haven't like eaten because I was like, I need to do this. But like at the end of the day, the client doesn't give a shit about like your health. They just want the work done. So you have to be the one to take care of it.
True. I mean, I actually have been in one or two situations where the client has been like, hey, do you want lunch? And I'm like, oh, food. Right. I should probably eat. Yeah. And they'll remind me, but it isn't always like that for sure. And you can't guarantee having clients that like think about that stuff for you.
And you got to take care of yourself in that manner, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, right, work has an importance too. So like allocate time for that work. And I think by allocation of time throughout the day and schedule it that way where like what's the most important things that need to be done for like a day-to-day basis, take that and then integrate it. Okay, I can fit in my work in this portion. Let me fit in a little bit of what's it called, exercise, maybe yoga, riding a bike. I don't know if anyone knows this, but I'm entering a triathlon soon.
Says the man who just got out of knee surgery like 3 months ago.
But like, but that's the thing.
Insane. I mean,
it's not really insane when you really think about it. It's like, because I prioritize my health.
Yeah,
right. We put this on pause for so long because we were prioritizing the health aspect.
No, absolutely, actually, because in that time I've gotten into such an insane routine of actually going to the gym. Not insane. I literally go like 3 times a week. But
that's still insane for the average American person.
And to think about where I used to be in my journey, in my health journey, in my physical journey versus now, it's just like the reason I started it is the reason I am where I am, because I started it not to look a certain way. I started it to feel good, and I started it to get my mind right, and I started taking care of my body just so that I would feel strong and equipped to like take on what I need to take on.
I'll be honest, I was getting fat. That's my main reason for trying to work out and look good. I don't want to make sure that I look good. Like
that, I mean, that's obviously a part of it.
There was no way. I looked at myself because I've always been very thin.
Yeah,
and when after the surgery, when you're sitting, when you're sitting in bed for that 3 month of doing nothing,
totally, I get what you're saying,
and you're just eating just so that you're able to survive. And like, I'll be honest, I like to eat a lot. So
whatever reason that you're doing it for, if you're, regardless, if you're getting your exercise in and you're moving your body and you're getting active, whatever possible way that is, that's all that matters. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, because that's what's going to make your mind strong, and it's going to discipline you. If you can create a habit and incorporate something like that into your routine to make sure that no matter what else is going on, you take time out of your day on these specific days or whatever days work for you that week, if your schedule isn't ever changing. Like, as long as you can create that stability for yourself, that's discipline. That's you saying, okay, like, I'm putting my mind to this. I'm going to do this. That creates discipline in every other area of your life. That creates discipline in your work life. And it also creates discipline to know when to turn the work life off.
No, absolutely. And like that's another thing that a lot of people need to understand is like everyone is built differently. That whole quote, I'm built differently. But like truly everyone's built differently and their mindsets are different and how their physical bodies are different. We can train it to a certain way, but it's to a certain degree where like a lot of factors come into it. It's like where your mind is capable to be at 100%, right? And I don't believe anyone's thinking at 100%. Like I think there was a study done. I learned this like years ago during biology class. Thank you, Sister Sally, for that. But we as human beings, we only use 10% of our mind, like our like actual brain function.
I believe. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that before.
And
I don't remember. I don't remember what
and
percentage.
At certain
but
points, we can trigger it to be at 100%. And
from 10.
Yeah, you can trigger it to be 100% at certain points. I don't know when, and like I do want to do the research again because this was actually really
sounds interesting. That blows my mind.
But
if that's true,
it's very dangerous to be at that because we're only meant to be at normal capacity at 10%. There's a reason that it's given that way. It's because we need that relaxation to actually be able to, recuperate and get that 10% back. So what I like to think about is a work-life balance is think of it as a battery, right? You need to charge your battery, right? And I think it's important that we see it that way and apply it that way. So
absolutely.
Just to iterate like what I've been saying and like to kind of like for anyone who here to hear tips, 3 important tips or 3 important like principles that I believe should be everyone's mindset is think of your body as a rental, diet over everything, and just be able to charge yourself at the end of the day. And I think that's where it really comes out and like allocate your time. The 4th thing is allocate your time properly to the best schedule that you're capable of coming up with rather than like something that you've heard, like you hear these YouTube gurus and like these guys who say, oh, this is what you need to do. Stick to this. Yeah, that's nice to hear, but like no one does that.
And everybody's got a different guideline of what they think is best. And that's why we started off this episode by saying this is our personal way of creating that work-life balance. But at the same time, I think it's so, like I said before, social media is such a huge part of the fact that when you go on TikTok, you immediately see a million people who are hustling their asses off, and you put that pressure on yourself to think I'm supposed to be hustling my ass off and I don't deserve this break until I get to where this person is. And that's the wrong mindset. That's the absolute wrong mindset.
That could be like another topic in mind because as of this, as of like right now we're filming and stuff like that, I'm actually off social media. The only social media I have is LinkedIn. And I kind of do want to explain why I personally did that for my own stuff and see like where like we align with that. Because like a lot of people don't agree with the kind of mindset that I had for this move. But it was critical for the type of rebranding that I'm trying to do for myself and like my own mindset. And after like being in like I said, like 3 months in intermission, just trying to heal up, this is where like my mindset is. And I think a lot of people should do it. I'm not saying completely because I'm not saying I'm completely off the grid.
Yeah.
It's more of a temporary halt.
Yeah.
And like really like realigning
a necessary break and also simultaneously rebranding your
but
yourself.
It's a little bit more than that as well. But we'll get into that another topic right now.
I would love to talk about that with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. So with that being said, I think that's the end of what we needed to talk about. I
really enjoyed this topic. I mean, we could go on and on and on talking about how to create a work-life balance. There are so many factors that go into it. But I think the most important things that we've said throughout this episode is the importance of making sure that your mental and that your physical are in a good place. They don't have to be at the best place that they could possibly be at or that they've ever been at. They just need to be in a solid place for you to be able to not go insane and
absolutely,
and be able to have that stability in your mind and in your body so that you can take on the work that you need to do. And then you can also, have enough perspective with prioritizing yourself and your mind and your body to know when to put the phone down, close the laptop, and do what's best for you mentally.
And just grab
physically.
lunch. And with that being said, I am hungry.
Me too. I'm so hungry. We need to eat.
Yeah, so let's close this out right now. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you would like to follow us on our social media pages, the Beyond the Science pages, right? You can also make sure to subscribe to us, hit the bell notification to know when we do post, and that's about it for me.
That's it. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in on this week's episode. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
See you then.
Peace.